We chase success like it holds the key to everything: money, recognition, status, freedom. But what if none of those things are what we truly want? What if, beneath the hustle and ambition, we're not chasing success at all? We're chasing visibility. We want someone to look at us and say, "I see you. I really see you." That's the part nobody talks about. You grind, you sacrifice, you keep stacking achievements, but the emptiness doesn't go away. The applause fades faster than you expected. The milestone celebrations feel hollow, and even when you win, it still feels like something's missing. Why? Because deep down, success without being seen isn't success at all. It's performance. And performance is exhausting when you're doing it for an audience that doesn't even know who you really are. This isn't about quitting your goals. It's about confronting the truth behind them. Why do you want what you want? And more importantly, who are you trying to impress? In this video, we'll unravel the deeper psychology behind our obsession with success. Through the lens of Carl Jung's theories of the persona, shadow, and individuation, we'll explore how our childhood wounds, societal expectations, and hidden desires shape not just what we pursue, but why we pursue it. This might not be easy to hear, but if you've ever felt like you're living a life that looks right but doesn't feel right, then this is the conversation your soul has been waiting for. We grow up fed a dream. Success will save us. It will redeem our suffering, justify our sacrifices, and finally make us feel worthy. So we climb. Higher education, better job, more money. We imagine that once we arrive, everything will click into place. But arrival never feels like we thought it would. That job promotion doesn't silence the voice inside that says we're not enough. That financial milestone doesn't fix our loneliness. Even standing in the spotlight, there's a part of us still whispering, "Is this it?" Success, as sold to us, is a mirage. It keeps shifting as we get closer. Each time we think we've reached it, it moves. That's not failure. That's the system working exactly as designed. Because as long as you keep chasing it, you never stop running. And as long as you're running, you won't stop to ask the real question: what am I actually looking for? Modern success isn't just about achievement. It's about perception. We want others to see our success. We crave their validation like oxygen. The applause, the likes, the nods of approval, they tell us we matter. But what if what we're chasing isn't success itself, but the feeling of being seen as successful? That's a very different thing. One is rooted in internal fulfillment, the other in external confirmation. And here's the trap. The more we lean into being perceived as successful, the more we abandon ourselves in favor of the image we think will earn love. Our success becomes theater, curated, polished, performative. We start measuring our worth by how others respond, not by how we feel. And in doing so, we trade authenticity for admiration. But admiration can't sustain you. It feeds the persona, not the soul. There's a hidden grief in achieving what you thought would make you happy and realizing it doesn't. It's a grief that many never talk about. They got the six-figure income, the fancy apartment, the business card with a title that screams "made it," and yet inside they feel nothing. Or worse, they feel more lost than before. Because now they've lost the illusion that something out there will save them. Carl Jung warned us about this disillusionment. He knew that what most people call success is often just the avoidance of inner work, a distraction, a socially acceptable way to run from our shadow. But the cost of running is steep. You sacrifice parts of yourself to maintain the illusion, and slowly, without even realizing it, you stop living your truth and start living your brand. What if success isn't about having more but being more you? What if real success is living in alignment with your values even if nobody applauds? The truth is, many people are successful in the eyes of the world but are dying inside from disconnection, from self-abandonment, from the exhaustion of performing. The first step to healing this is radical honesty, not about your resume, but about your motivations. Are you doing this because it lights you up, or because it impresses people? Are you building a life you love, or one that looks good in photos? Redefining success means reclaiming your voice, your path, your truth. It means choosing authenticity, even when it's quieter than performance. And paradoxically, it's in that authenticity that real fulfillment and real visibility begins. Before we ever chased success, we chased connection. And long before we learned to perform for applause, we learned to adapt for love. As children, we're pure expression, loud, messy, honest. But if that expression isn't met with attunement or safety, we begin to shapeshift. Maybe your emotions were too big for your parents. Maybe your quietness was mistaken for disinterest. Maybe you were praised only when you achieved, and ignored when you were simply you. Slowly, you learned that visibility wasn't a right. It was something you had to earn. So you began to mold yourself. You became the good child, the helper, the overachiever. And in that molding, something tragic happened. Parts of you went underground. You buried your wildness, your anger, your sadness, anything that didn't win you love. And what was left was an edited version of you, acceptable, pleasing, invisible. To be seen is not just about being noticed. It's about being understood. It's the experience of having someone witness your internal world and say, I get you, you make sense. When this doesn't happen in childhood, we carry a deep and confusing hunger into adulthood. We look for others to fill the role our parents never did, to witness us, validate us, complete the circuit that was left open. But here's the thing. No amount of adult success can fill a childhood void. You could win awards, have millions of followers, even be celebrated globally, and still feel the ache of being unseen. That's because the original pain wasn't about recognition. It was about attunement. The child in you didn't want applause. They wanted someone to kneel down, look into your eyes and say, I see you. Until we face this, we keep chasing what cannot heal us. When you're not seen for who you are, you learn to become what others want. This is the origin of the persona, the mask we wear to navigate the world. And at first, it works. You're liked, you're praised, you blend in. But over time, the cost becomes unbearable, because while the mask may win love, it can never make you feel loved. Why? Because deep down you know it's not the real you receiving the love. It's the version you've crafted, the performer, the pleaser. And that creates a brutal emotional paradox. The more you're admired, the more alone you feel. The more you succeed as your persona, the more disconnected you become from your soul. Carl Jung saw this clearly, that the persona, while necessary, becomes dangerous when we mistake it for our identity, especially when it was built on the back of a child who just wanted to be seen. Healing begins when we stop outsourcing the gaze, when we stop begging the world to see us and start turning inward. The child within you isn't gone. They're still waiting, still holding out hope that one day someone will finally see their truth without flinching. That someone is you. Reparenting is the process of becoming the adult you needed. It's about listening, validating, and holding space for the emotions you once had to suppress. It's about offering yourself the safety that was once denied. This is where individuation begins, when you stop performing for love and start embodying it from the inside out. When you look in the mirror and say, I see you, I love you, you are enough. That's not cheesy, it's alchemy. It's how the invisible child finally becomes visible. Not to the world first, no, but to themselves. At some point, what began as a survival strategy becomes a full-time performance. The child who once faked a smile to avoid punishment grows into the adult who performs happiness in every room, every relationship, every post online. You learn to read people's expectations before they speak. You fine-tune your voice, your tone, even your personality, all in the name of acceptance. This is how the persona is born. In Jungian terms, it's the social mask we wear to function in the world. It's not inherently evil, and in fact, we need it to navigate society. But the danger begins when the persona becomes fused with your identity. You forget where the mask ends and your true self begins. You smile when you're breaking inside. You say, I'm fine when you're drowning. And because the persona works, because it gets applause, validation, likes you, you begin to think it is you. But deep down something feels missing. Eventually the performance starts to crack. Maybe you reach a goal and feel nothing. Maybe your relationships feel hollow. Maybe you just wake up one day exhausted by your own act. That's the breaking point. When the persona, once your protector, becomes your prison. You start to realize that you're not living, you're role-playing. And no matter how perfectly you play the part, the applause doesn't land. It echoes off the walls of a self you no longer recognize. This breakdown isn't a failure. It's a doorway. The collapse of the false self is often the beginning of the real one. It's the moment when the soul, long silenced, finally roars. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming your whole self, not just your socially accepted one. But before that can happen, you have to mourn the mask. You have to admit, I've been hiding, even from myself. The world may reward the persona, but it's your nervous system that pays the price. Constant performance is exhausting. It fragments your attention, severs your intuition, and keeps you in a chronic state of hypervigilance. You're always on, always scanning for approval, always suppressing the parts of you that don't fit the script. This emotional labor is invisible, but it's draining. You can't rest because rest requires authenticity. You can't connect because connection requires vulnerability. You're stuck performing roles, the nice one, the achiever, the intellectual, all while your inner child waits backstage, still longing to be seen. The tragedy isn't that we wear masks. The tragedy is that we forget we're wearing them, and healing begins the moment we remember. I am not my persona. I am the soul behind the performance, and it's time to bring that self into the light. You cross the finish line. You get the job. You hit the milestone. The world claps. Your family congratulates you. Your social media glows with praise. And yet, deep inside, nothing. No explosion of fulfillment. No deep exhale. Just a quiet hollowness. One you can't explain. This is the moment no one prepares you for. When success arrives and still doesn't touch the places that ache. Because what you were truly chasing wasn't the achievement itself. It was what you thought it would bring. Love. Respect. Witnessing. But success doesn't guarantee any of those. It may elevate your status, but it doesn't heal the inner child who never felt seen. So now you have the external proof, but the internal wound remains untouched. It's not that you didn't succeed. It's that you succeeded in the wrong language, one your soul can't read. Many high achievers are secretly lonely, not because they don't know people, but because those people only know the performance. You show them your accomplishments, your curated self. They see your success, not your soul. And the applause you get? It's for the mask. Not for the parts of you that feel most true. This creates a haunting paradox. You can be admired by thousands, yet still feel invisible. You can win awards and feel unseen. Because what we really crave is not applause. It's resonance. It's when someone looks beyond your results and says, I see you. But the more you build your life around being impressive, the less space you have to be authentic. And without authenticity, even the highest peaks start to feel like lonely towers, beautiful from the outside, but desolate within. From early on, we're taught to equate achievement with identity. Get good grades, be praised, win the trophy, earn love. This programming gets buried deep in the psyche. So as adults, we chase success not just for the benefits it brings, but for the validation it promises. We believe, often unconsciously, that if we achieve enough, we'll finally be enough. But worthiness doesn't work that way. It can't be earned through effort. It's something you either believe in intrinsically or endlessly chase in the outside world. And here's the twist. The more you succeed, without addressing your inner emptiness, the more you reinforce the illusion that success should have filled it. So you keep achieving, hoping the next milestone will fix the ache the last one couldn't. But until you stop and ask, why do I really want this? You'll be sprinting on a treadmill that never stops. There comes a moment when you realize the image you've built is not the life you're living. You may have wealth, status, admiration, but none of it reflects your inner world. It's like living inside someone else's dream. Outwardly, you're the picture of success. Inwardly, you're starving for meaning. This gap between how the world sees you and how you actually feel is what creates the emptiness. It's not success that's the problem. It's that success achieved in disconnection from self will always feel hollow. True fulfillment doesn't come from being seen as exceptional. It comes from being seen as yourself. And that kind of visibility requires something no resume can measure: vulnerability, presence, and the courage to let the world meet you, not just your achievements. Validation is external. It's when someone acknowledges that you're doing well, fitting in, performing at the standard they value. It's approval, often earned by being good, useful, agreeable. But there's a cost. To be validated, we often edit ourselves, trimming off the parts that might offend or confuse. We play roles, wear smiles, suppress our truths, and while validation can feel good, a dopamine hit, a boost of self-esteem, it's ultimately hollow if it's not rooted in who we really are. That's the tragedy. Most people receive praise for their persona, not their personhood. They're validated for being what others need them to be, not for who they are when no one's watching. Over time, this leads to a quiet starvation, because while validation sustains the ego, only visibility nourishes the soul. Being seen for your truth, unfiltered, messy, beautiful, that's what we're really longing for. To be visible is not just to be looked at, it's to be seen. It's when someone acknowledges your existence, your pain, your story, not just your success or usefulness. Visibility is an act of emotional intimacy. It requires vulnerability from you and presence from the other. It's when someone doesn't need you to shrink, explain, or justify who you are. They witness you and stay. Most of us rarely experience this. We perform constantly, hoping someone will notice the person behind the act. But visibility can't be demanded. It must be offered and received in mutual safety. And for many, that feels dangerous. We're so used to being judged, misunderstood, or dismissed that we've stopped showing ourselves altogether. Yet without that kind of honest reflection, we become strangers to our own lives, surrounded by people, yet profoundly alone. Visibility heals. It says, you matter. Not because of what you do, but because of who you are. In modern society, especially with the rise of social media, validation has become a currency. Likes, shares, comments. They simulate presence, but rarely deliver real connection. You might receive thousands of reactions to a post but still feel completely unknown. Because those metrics respond to your image, not your inner world. It's possible to be constantly validated and still feel invisible. That's the paradox of the digital age. We're more watched than ever, yet less seen than ever. When you trade visibility for validation, you gain approval but lose intimacy. People cheer for your success, but they don't know your struggle. They celebrate your beauty, but they don't hold space for your sorrow. The result? You begin to curate yourself, not out of joy, but out of fear. And in doing so, you distance yourself from the very recognition your heart longs for. You become a projection, not a person. Choosing visibility means making a radical shift. It means valuing depth over display, truth over perfection, real presence over polished performance. This choice can feel terrifying at first, because it means letting go of control. You can no longer guarantee the outcome of people's reactions. You risk being misunderstood, even rejected. But what you gain is priceless. Freedom. You no longer have to perform. You can rest in the reality of who you are. And those who remain, who truly see you, become sacred mirrors. They don't validate a version of you. They welcome the whole. Visibility is not about being loud or seen by many. It's about being known by a few, deeply. It's about finding spaces where you don't have to translate yourself to be loved. In that space, the hunger ends, not because you've finally earned worthiness, but because you've remembered it was never something to earn. From a young age, we begin to split ourselves. It happens subtly, almost invisibly. A child cries and is told, "Don't be so sensitive." A boy is punished for being too emotional. A girl is labeled difficult for expressing anger. And just like that, we learn what parts of us are safe to show and which parts must be buried. This is the beginning of the shadow in Jungian terms. The shadow is not evil, it's exiled. It contains everything we believe makes us unlovable. And the mechanism that drives this exile is shame. Shame tells us, if they see this part of you, they'll leave. They'll mock you. You'll be alone. So we comply. We fragment. We develop personas to mask what we fear would get us rejected. But those buried parts don't disappear. They fester in the dark, becoming louder, more distorted, and more desperate for recognition. What we repress doesn't die, it waits. Living in hiding has a cost so high that it slowly erodes your vitality. When you carry shame in silence, it shapes your posture, your tone, your choices. You smile when you want to scream. You agree when you long to object. You succeed, outwardly, but die inwardly. People may admire you, even love you. But it doesn't land because it's aimed at the mask, not the real you. And you know it. That knowing is what creates the quiet ache of disconnection, even in a crowded room. Shame turns our own existence into a prison. We second-guess every word. We become hyper-vigilant. We obsess over approval. We become perfectionists, people-pleasers, control freaks, all in service of hiding what we fear is unforgivable. But what if the very parts you're hiding are the keys to your liberation? What if the parts you're ashamed of are not broken, just bruised, misunderstood, or unhealed? What you bury eventually surfaces, often in the most inconvenient and chaotic ways. Shadow material doesn't stay quiet. If not expressed consciously, it will act out unconsciously. This is why people explode in rage after years of being nice. It's why some sabotage relationships the moment they get too close, or why they self-destruct just as they taste success. The shadow rebels, not because it's evil, but because it's been ignored. And it wants you to wake up. It wants reintegration, it wants to be heard. But if we continue rejecting these parts, they gain power in indirect, often destructive forms. The addiction you can't shake, the compulsive behavior, the recurring toxic patterns. All of it is shadow knocking, demanding attention. And if you pathologize it rather than explore it, you miss the point. The shadow is not your enemy. It's your unacknowledged self, crying for connection. Healing begins the moment we name what we've buried, not as flaws, but as fragments of self. When you bring shame into the light, with gentleness and honesty, it loses its grip. Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This is shadow work, and it's not easy. It asks us to revisit wounds, to sit with discomfort, to take off the mask in front of people we trust. But the reward is massive: freedom, authenticity, and deep connection. You no longer have to spend your life editing yourself, you get to be. And what's even more beautiful, when you show up as your whole self, you unconsciously give others permission to do the same. Your courage creates a ripple. Your honesty becomes medicine. Because the truth is, everyone carries shame. But few are brave enough to turn toward it, and even fewer choose to heal it. Projection is one of the most powerful psychological defense mechanisms, and one of the most misunderstood. Carl Jung explained that what we reject in ourselves doesn't vanish. It gets projected onto others. If you deny your anger, you'll start seeing aggressive people everywhere. If you suppress your envy, you'll find others too ambitious, or show-offs. We don't see people as they are. We see them through the lens of our unresolved wounds. Social media amplifies this process 1,000-fold. We scroll through carefully curated images, lifestyles, and opinions, and we project meaning onto what we see. That influencer isn't just successful. They're triggering your unacknowledged desire for attention or validation. That person who posts about their body isn't just vain. They're activating your shame around your own body. The algorithm is not neutral. It becomes a mirror for the unconscious. And what we hate most in others often reveals what We have not loved in ourselves. We used to wear masks for society. Now we curate entire identities for platforms. Social media isn't just a communication tool, it's a performance space. We learn which parts of ourselves get the most likes, shares, and comments, and we amplify those traits. Meanwhile, the parts of us that feel too raw, too uncertain, or too real are hidden. This isn't just about filters, it's about survival. We fear that if we show our real struggles, vulnerabilities, or insecurities, we'll be seen as weak, broken, or needy. So we perform confidence while drowning in self-doubt. We showcase happiness while battling emptiness. Over time, we forget where the performance ends and the self begins. We become brand managers of our own identity, and the cost is enormous. A growing sense of detachment from our truth, a constant fear of being found out, and a subtle but persistent sense of loneliness, even with thousands of followers. There's a specific kind of suffering that comes from measuring your inner world against someone else's highlight reel. It's the dissonance between what you're feeling and what everyone else seems to be living. You're anxious, but they're glowing. You feel lost, but they're announcing their next big win. You feel unseen, but they have an audience. This endless comparison isn't just painful, it's deceptive. You're comparing your behind-the-scenes footage to someone else's movie trailer, and yet your mind buys into the illusion. Because projection loves illusion, it doesn't care about truth. It cares about patterns. So if you've internalized the belief that you're never enough, social media will confirm that belief 1,000 times a day. Not because it's true, but because your psyche is filtering reality to sustain your internal story. To break free, you don't need to log off. You need to log inward and rewrite the script. The most powerful way to use projection isn't to escape it. It's to learn from it. When you feel a strong emotional reaction to someone, jealousy, judgment, admiration, or hatred, pause and ask, what does this say about me? Instead of shaming yourself for the feeling, get curious. Projection is a flashlight pointing toward your shadow. That person who intimidates you may embody a trait you've disowned. That influencer you resent may symbolize a freedom you secretly long for. That friend you idealize might reflect your own unlived potential. When you begin to see others as mirrors rather than enemies or idols, you open the door to profound self-awareness. Social media can become a battlefield, or it can become a tool for integration. But only if you're willing to face your reflections without flinching, because in the end, what triggers us most often teaches us who we've forgotten we are. There's a special kind of burnout that doesn't come from doing too much but from being too little of yourself for too long. When you constantly mold your identity to be palatable, acceptable, and lovable to others, your nervous system is in a constant state of tension. You smile when you're exhausted. You nod when you disagree. You say yes when your soul screams no. Day after day, this quiet self-abandonment chips away at your vitality. You're not just tired, you're empty. And the worst part? No one knows, because your performance is flawless. You've become the responsible one, the kind one, the achiever, the pleaser. But behind the curtain, your real self is withering. Burnout isn't always about overworking. Sometimes it's about overhiding. You're not exhausted because you've done too much. You're exhausted because you've buried too much of yourself in the name of being loved. To not be seen is a wound, a deep one, especially when you've worked so hard to be visible through success, helpfulness, beauty, or charm. But true, visibility isn't about being looked at. It's about being known. When people admire the mask you wear, not the face underneath, you start to feel more like an image than a person. And images don't get held, heard, or healed. They get consumed. The pain of invisibility is not just external. It becomes internalized. You begin to believe that you are unworthy of being seen, not just your truth. And so, the burnout deepens. It's not just your body that feels heavy. It's your very being. When your emotional truth has no witness, your soul begins to retreat. Loneliness isn't the absence of people, it's the absence of resonance. It's knowing that even in a room full of people, or thousands of followers, no one really sees you. Burnout isn't just physical exhaustion. It's spiritual revolt. It's the moment your soul says, I can't pretend anymore. You start forgetting appointments, missing deadlines, or waking up with dread. Your body aches. Your motivation vanishes. But underneath all that is something deeper. The self that's been waiting to be acknowledged. The part of you that's been silenced. The angry one, the scared one, the longing one, begins to scream. And it doesn't care how successful, or nice or admired you are. It wants truth. The collapse that comes with burnout is often the psyche's desperate attempt to stop the performance. It's not a failure. It's a rupture, a crack through which your truth can finally escape. Burnout says, no more pretending, no more hiding. It's time to be real, or it's time to break. And while it feels terrifying, it can also be the beginning of healing, if you have the courage to listen. The antidote to this burnout isn't a vacation, it's vulnerability. It's learning to show up without the polished act. It's daring to be messy, contradictory, flawed, and still worthy of love. The healing begins when you stop asking, what do they want me to be, and start asking, what do I need to express right now? It's about having spaces and people where you don't have to filter yourself, where your sorrow is not an inconvenience, where your dreams aren't too much, where your silence is still met with presence. Being seen doesn't mean being dramatic or constantly exposed. It means allowing someone, even just one person, to really witness who you are beneath the image. And if no one can yet, be that person for yourself. Sit with your truth without judgment. Because burnout is not the end, it's the invitation. The moment where your truth says, I'm still here. Will you see me now? To begin the journey of integration, we first need to understand where we are. The performance we've been putting on, the nice girl or nice guy persona, the image we've crafted for the world, it's not our whole self. It's a part of us, but it's not the full picture. For most of us, we've been trained to identify with our mask, to believe that the version of us that others see is the only version that matters. But true wholeness isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. The real you is made up of all parts of you. The parts that are bold, vulnerable, messy, and broken. The truth is that our performances keep us fragmented. The more we perform, the more we split off from the parts of ourselves we've hidden, repressed, or rejected. True healing begins the moment we stop pretending to be something we're not and start embracing who we truly are. Carl Jung believed that the key to individuation, the process of becoming your true self, is integrating the shadow. The shadow is made up of the parts of ourselves that we've repressed because they're too ugly or unacceptable in our eyes. These are the traits we hide to fit in, to be loved, to be accepted. But the shadow doesn't go away when we ignore it. In fact, it grows stronger. These hidden parts of ourselves can dictate our actions, often in unconscious ways. When we fail to acknowledge our shadow, we leave parts of our soul in the dark. The path to wholeness requires us to shine a light on the darkness, to accept and embrace the traits we've judged as wrong or bad. This process of integration is difficult. It requires courage. But when we begin to accept all parts of ourselves, we experience a shift. We no longer need to hide, perform, or pretend. We begin to embody our wholeness, and we step into the fullness of who we were always meant to be. Many people resist this path of integration because they fear they won't be accepted if they reveal their true selves. The fear of rejection, of being too much, too flawed, too different, it's real. But here's the thing. Authenticity doesn't mean acting out your raw emotions in an uncontrolled way. It means honoring your truth. It means acknowledging that you have desires, fears, anger, and pain that deserve to be expressed and witnessed. To integrate these parts, we must first accept them within ourselves. When we stop fearing rejection, we stop performing. We stop seeking validation through external sources. We learn to validate ourselves. And that shift in energy is powerful, because when you embrace yourself, when you stop hiding and pretending, people begin to sense your wholeness. And in this space, real connections are formed. We stop attracting the wrong kind of attention and start attracting relationships, opportunities, and love that honor our authenticity. The fear begins to dissipate and we learn that our true self is not only worthy of love, it's the only self that can truly thrive. The journey of integration is ongoing. It's not a one-time revelation, it's a lifelong practice. Every day is an opportunity to become more aware of the parts of ourselves that we've hidden or rejected. It's about creating a compassionate space for those parts, understanding them, and allowing them to come into the light. This doesn't happen overnight. There will be moments of resistance, moments of fear, and moments of doubt. But through this process, we move closer to who we really are. We step into a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment. Integration isn't about perfection. It's about wholeness. It's about accepting that we are all of it, the light and the dark, the beauty and the brokenness. And when we stop performing for the world and start integrating our truth, we step into our power. This is the path to real freedom, the kind that isn't dependent on the approval of others, but on the deep knowing that we are enough, exactly as we are. Many of us have been taught to believe that success, wealth, and recognition are the ultimate goals in life. We set milestones, aim for promotions, chase the next big thing, and endlessly climb the ladder. But here's the truth. Achievements alone will never make us feel complete. The deeper we go into our careers, the more we may feel like something is still missing. The constant pursuit of more achievements, more accolades, more titles, it can create a sense of emptiness. Why? Because achievements are external validations of our worth, but they don't satisfy our deeper hunger for connection. We've been conditioned to think that when we achieve more, we'll feel better about ourselves. But as Carl Jung pointed out, what we truly crave is not external validation, but internal fulfillment. We need to be seen for who we truly are, not just for what we do. The chase for achievements can only take us so far. True satisfaction comes from having our truth witnessed by others, from being seen as we truly are, not just for our accomplishments. The difference between validation and witnessing is crucial in understanding our human needs. Validation is about seeking approval from others. It's the need to be praised, to be told that we're good enough, to be affirmed for our actions. Witnessing, however, is about being truly seen. It's the recognition of our deepest truth, our essence, and our humanity. Witnessing is a profound act of presence. It's when someone truly understands you, not just on the surface level, but at a deeper, soulful level. Validation is often fleeting and dependent on external circumstances, while witnessing connects us to something more eternal. When we are witnessed, we feel a sense of belonging, a sense of being part of something greater. This is why the need for recognition, beyond the achievements, is so powerful. We want to be seen for who we are in our entirety, not just for what we've done. We want to be acknowledged as full, whole beings, with all our complexities, flaws, and beauty. And when we are witnessed in this way, we feel seen, heard, and deeply understood. When someone truly sees us, not just the polished version, but the messy, real parts of ourselves, it creates an undeniable sense of belonging. Being witnessed is a profound human experience, one that transcends the superficial layers of achievement. It's about being accepted for who we are, without the need for pretense or masks. We've all been in situations where we felt like we were performing, either for others or even for ourselves. But when we allow ourselves to be fully present and real with others, we experience a level of connection that is healing. This is the kind of connection that nurtures our soul. It's the antidote to the loneliness that often accompanies the pursuit of external success. We don't need more accolades or achievements to feel validated. We need people who are willing to witness our truth. When we are witnessed in our entirety, it opens the door for real emotional intimacy, the kind that builds deep relationships and fosters a sense of belonging. And this, ultimately, is what we all crave. Not recognition for what we do, but for who we truly are. The final step towards wholeness involves letting go of the need to constantly achieve for the sake of external validation. It's about embracing the idea that who we are is enough, regardless of our accomplishments. We don't have to be the best or the most successful to be worthy. Our worth isn't defined by our titles or how much we achieve. Instead, it's rooted in our ability to be present, to live authentically, and to allow ourselves to be witnessed for who we are. This shift in mindset can be liberating. It frees us from the cycle of chasing achievements and the constant comparison with others. It allows us to slow down and focus on what truly matters: connection, authenticity, and being seen for our truth. The moment we stop performing and start living authentically, we attract the right people and experiences that honor who we really are. The need for constant achievements fades away, and we find peace in knowing that we are enough just as we are. As we've explored, the pursuit of success, accolades, and achievements is often driven by a deeper, unspoken need to be seen. It's not about more titles, more recognition, or external validation. What we truly crave is the experience of being witnessed in our most authentic form, being seen for who we are, beyond the masks we wear and the personas we perform. This hunger to be acknowledged is an essential part of our human experience. The truth is, the more we chase after achievements for validation, the more disconnected we become from our true selves. Achievements alone will never fulfill us. They may temporarily satisfy our ego, but they will never nourish our soul. What we really need is to be witnessed, to have others see us in our full complexity, the good, the bad, and everything in between. So the next time you feel the pressure to achieve more, to climb higher, remember that the real reward lies not in what you accomplish but in being seen for your true self. Your worth is not defined by your achievements, but by your ability to live authentically and to let others witness your truth. Let go of the need to perform, stop chasing after validation, and instead, focus on being seen for who you truly are. The path to fulfillment begins when you stop pretending and start living in alignment with your inner truth. You don't need more accomplishments. You need people who will witness and honor your authentic self.